Welcome to the Knowledge for Men show. Your life will never be the same.
Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development.
I want to die empty of regret. I want to die empty of my best work. We don't understand who we are. Instead, we're living out somebody else's narrative.
What one man can do, another man can do. If it's been done, it can be done again.
Being yourself and being your truest, most authentic self in every moment. If it scares you or makes you a little afraid, do it. Follow your heart and your gut.
The first stage, I think, is finding you, like finding out who I am today.
Stuff will not work. You will have things that fail. Success is when you're a happy, fulfilled person. How do you define success?
It's your life, and you are the creator of the movie script that is your life story.
The father of personal development, Jim Rohn, said it best. You are the average of the 5 people you spend your most time with. And so I've created a mastermind community called the Lion's Den around this idea that if you are surrounded by high-performing people and you have consistent education and training, then you will succeed in life and as a man. Check out kfmlion.com to learn how the Lion's Den can take your life, relationships, and business to the next level. Again, that's kfmlion.com. All right, guys, welcome to the show. I'm here with Olaniyi Sobomehin, former NFL running back for the New Orleans Saints, firefighter, and currently owner of I'mNotYou.com. Olaniyi works with elite young athletes on developing habits, mindset, and systems necessary for dominating their sport. Olaniyi, happy to have you here on the show.
Hey, it's great to be on, man. I appreciate you.
All right. Let's dive in now with a favorite success quote or some sort of saying that's helped you on your journey to get to where you are now today.
Definitely, man. Hey, everybody who knows me knows I'm a big hip-hop head, so I'm going to use a hip-hop quote from one of my favorite rappers, Nipsey Hussle. But he said, "Life is just a battle against your disbelief. That's why I'm screaming I'm the greatest of all time like young Ali." And so what that means, for all of you who don't really understand hip-hop lingo, it basically means life, man, everything that you get in life is a result of your belief. And so a lot of people suffer from a lack of belief, which is doubt, fear, indecision, all these things that hold people back. Knowing that, Nipsey Hussle saying, that's why I'm screaming I'm the greatest of all time like young Ali. Because a young Ali, he was saying he was the greatest before anyone knew that he was, even before he knew he was. And so that's a really powerful quote, because my job every day is to raise my level of belief. And that's essentially what I do with young athletes that I work with, because I understand that your level of belief in yourself determines every action that you do or do not take, and ultimately every result that you get. So I really love that quote.
I like that. And coming from a former NFL running back, how has belief played a role in your game, in your athletics growing up through college and the NFL?
Man, I mean, like I said, it's just at the foundation of everything that I've done or not done. So I was really able to look back at everything that I was able to accomplish, good or bad. So anytime I was getting a great result, like earning a scholarship to Portland State, becoming an All-American, playing for the New Orleans Saints. And then ultimately when I got released and went into this sort of rough period of my life where I had a bunch of indecision, I was able to look and say the thing that made me successful was my mindset, my level of belief. And one of the key mindset that I had was I'm not you. And so what that means is basically I've always believed that I'm an outlier. So that means if I hear a statistic that 99% of businesses fail, or, X amount of people do this, I always identify with the 1%. I identify with the people who actually overcome the odds. And so that belief that I had in myself really spurred me on to take a lot of action that most people wouldn't take. And that includes, when I busted my wrist up, 3 games out from my last season at Portland State. Most people told me, yo, you don't really have a chance to play in the NFL. But I ignored that because I knew there was still a possibility. And so I pursued that, while a lot of my friends decided not to, and they end up having a lot of regret. And so I'm not you is really a mindset. It's really a state of mind that you've got to embody if you want to accomplish anything great, because there's just too much room for just mediocrity. It's rampant now. It's just just being average. And so if you want to really stand out in today's world, like, you got to have a different sort of mindset. You have to be willing to take risks. You have to be willing to, go do things that make you uncomfortable and just really become who you really are. And who you really are is like somebody who's unstoppable. That's what I believe.
I like that. Yeah, this is really resonating with myself, and I know so many listeners right now. I'm just feeling it from just your voice from the microphone, like this belief that you have in yourself. Like, I can just feel that. Now, has this always been something like this that you've had, growing up just very confident, very driven. What led you to become this is what I'm wondering. Like, that's probably what a lot of listeners are wondering. Like, I want that. Like, I want to believe like that guy does. Like, how is he doing that?
Man, so that's a great question. So I was the third out of 4 boys, and my dad is always been very confident, and all of my brothers are very successful in their own ways. They were always straight A students, very athletic and things like that. I was the third, so I sort of had that middle child sort of syndrome when I was actually the one kid who, you know, everyone identified me as the shy one. And so I wasn't known for having exuding confidence. When my brothers would go, and my mom would always say, when my brothers would go dance to Michael Jackson, I'd be in the corner dancing. I hated standing in front of people. I dreaded public speaking. So the idea that I'm actually now being heard by millions of people around the world is insane to me. But I wasn't like born with this mindset or this energy that I have now. But a lot of things that happened as a youngster really spurred me on to sort of take a lot more risk than a lot of people wouldn't. And so I liked going against the grain. I sort of had this sort of quiet belief in myself, if you will, where I didn't really pay attention to a lot of reality, if you will. Like, I didn't like to identify with those things that most people would say, you really can't do that. It doesn't really make sense to do that. I always focused on what was possible. And the more I followed that instinct of mine, the more confidence I got in myself. And so it started to grow when I was in high school. I was still considered shy in high school. Same thing in college. But I just got better and better and better. And then you start to realize, damn, like it's really not much I can't do. You know what I mean? And so if there's ever something that I really set my mind to do, I can absolutely do it. And, you know, after I got released from the NFL, that was a really dark time in my life. And I sort of lost that juice, that confidence, if you will, you know. And so I was being really indecisive about what I wanted to do, spent a lot of time working at jobs I didn't like. And it wasn't until I really just got back to that instinct, man, and said, you know what? No, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. And then I started to develop that belief. And so belief it's just like any muscle. You can develop that and condition your mind to whatever you want. And I have a large set of habits that I adhere to every day that help inspire that, because if I was to leave it up to chance or to, you know, circumstance, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. I'd be making excuses. I'd be cowering from challenging situations. But it's really a decision every day to really just be in attack mode and be in predator type mode. And so this is what I teach athletes. It's like, it's not some gift that, you know, somebody bestows upon you. It's a choice that you make. You can have that. You can believe whatever the hell you want to believe about yourself. It's funny because I have 5 children. And so I like to use the example. My daughter, she's 5, man. And if you ask her, you know, is she successful? She'll tell you, oh, of course I am. And you ask her why, and she'll tell you because her last name is Sobomehin. And when I hear that, I get chills because there's no, like, obviously God didn't say anyone whose last name Sobomehin is guaranteed to be successful. But she believes that because I told her that. I tell her that with all confidence and all certainty. Like, you are meant to be successful. That's your job on earth. Your job, you are meant to touch a lot of people's lives and do something really great. And she really believes that. And she'll believe whatever I tell her. And then hopefully as she grows older, that belief will turn into a more solid belief to where she can attack anything, you know, in her life with that sort of mindset.
Yeah. That's got to be a powerful moment when she says that.
Right, it is. Man.
It probably gives you kind of the chills. You're like, I better step my game up.
Exactly, man. They watch.
That's good. You brought up an interesting point. I've always been kind of interested in this with athletes, but in that moment after they get released from their professional sport, you've been playing football probably all of your life. Is that right? Like, just
right.
Growing up, high school, college, and then so you've committed. And then at that age too, that was your life because you had done it for so long. And so what happened in that moment? It was like, that was the end of that chapter. Like, you said it was a dark period of your life, and I'd like to explore that.
Definitely, man. I still remember. So I got hurt in my second year. So my first year I got hurt in my first game starting in the NFL. And it was actually on a goal line play. I got blasted, man. My shoulder popped out and then I had to have surgery. And then the next year I got hurt again, my other shoulder. And so I was on the injury reserve for 8 weeks. And the whole time I kind of was starting to get the feeling that they were going to release me. And it was just like hella awkward in the training room, like looking around like, you know, paranoid is that guy who tells everyone they're cut. I'm looking at where he's at. But anyway, 8 weeks into the season, you know, I get released. And I remember sitting in the locker room and the guy coming up to me like, yo, Shobo, you need to grab your playbook. And I'm like, oh, damn, like go talk to Coach Payton. And I remember sitting there talking to Coach Sean Payton and him telling me like, yo, we're going to have to move on. Like, telling me all this stuff. And I'm just sitting there like, I like want to cry. It's like a kid being told like he didn't make the team or something. I don't know. It's like you just feel like a little kid. You feel sort of helpless. And so I went back to Portland. But of course, like any athlete who gets cut the first time, you don't just take it right there. Right. So I'm like, all right, I'll be back. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm going to get back into the league. What really was never the same is like what happened in that room when he told me I was released, and I started to feel like I wasn't enough, like I didn't have what it takes to be in the NFL. And that's what I talk about, that belief, right? And so at that moment when I lost that, and it was on me, I lost that, I chose to interpret what he told me in that way. Like I just was never the same player. And so I had a tryout, for the Cleveland Browns. I try out for an arena team, but ultimately it just never worked out for me. I never got a chance to get back on another squad. And I just sort of like randomly after about like 2.5 years, I just sort of quietly gave it up. It wasn't like a firm decision. It was like, and I hated watching football. Now I can watch it and not feel anything, but I would just feel sick to my stomach watching football. And they actually won the Super Bowl the year I got released. So I was watching that game like sick to my stomach, like I deserve a ring, man. I was there, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But they released me. So it was really, really tough, man. And it was just like I said, just after I, made the decision not to play, it was just kind of like wandering and drifting. Like the funny thing, I never really thought that I was the type of guy who was all about football. There's certain guys who's like, they're just live and die and breathe and eat football. And I love football, but I never thought of myself as the guy who would be depressed after he stopped playing. But sure enough, I was depressed after I stopped playing. It was so much of your identity is tied into a sport. And I played it for 17 years of my life. Every summer, I was doing the same thing, getting ready for camp. My body was like conditioned to be a football player. And it was really shocking, man, but it was tough. But ultimately, it's led me to where I am now, which I'm really happy about. And I'm able to share my successes and my failures with young athletes and show them how they can sort of eliminate a lot of the things that I went through and sort of speed up their growth process, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's just got to be heart-wrenching to go through that. And you're like, all right, let's move on. But the topic is deep. It's like someone who had their passion and just, you're talking about being in the workout room and you're like, where is that guy who cuts me? Get away from me. Right. and to actually have to go through that experience and they won the Super Bowl that year, that's got to be tough. So what led you to go into the path that you are now? Like what were you doing after you just were like, you know what, it's time to close the book here with football and see what else is new for me in my life?
Right. So during the time I was sort of wandering and drifting, I wanted to stay around the game of football just to sort of just stay fresh in the game. And so I decided to coach at a local high school. And I was just sort of volunteering or whatever. And I was really like noticing the JV team. So these guys were probably like sophomores, freshmen and things like that.
Yeah.
And they had so much talent. I'm like, man, these dudes are like, they got way more talent than I had. These dudes were big, strong, fast, but they just had no idea of what it would take. They had no sense of strategy or overall, like, they just didn't know what it would take. You know what I mean? And I felt bad because their coaches didn't know any better either. And I'm sitting here fresh out the league and I'm like, yo, I have so many things that I could show you guys. And so I would take a couple of guys under my wing. I would take them to go to the gym and work out with me and things like that. And it sort of morphed into like this workout group. And so they would all come and I would pick them up in my car. I would take them to the gym. And it was a really cool thing. And so I had this idea, like, let me start a 6-week sort of academy in the summer leading up to their camp where I can show them how to eat, how to train, how to think like a pro athlete. Like, I'm going to show them it's going to be really intense. It was 5 days out of the week, like 3 hours a day. Like, the workouts were crazy. I was teaching them all about how to eat right. I mean, we're teaching them how to make green smoothies and shop for, different, go to the farmer's market and learn how to what type of vegetables to eat. They were being exposed to foods they didn't know anything about. And then the mindset, of course. And then it just sort of morphed from there. I had a lot of athletes wanting to work with me one-on-one. And the more I was sort of, focused on like the athletes, they get infatuated with like working out and like, we got to, work out, and they want to know all the coolest workouts. But their mindset, their whole attitude was just absolutely not where it needed to be in terms of getting the results that they ultimately wanted or they said they wanted. And so I'm like, no one's really talking about the things that they actually need to do, like the way they actually need to believe in themselves in order to overcome these inevitable challenges and hurdles that will come on the way to doing anything great. If you want to be a great athlete, you have to be mentally strong. Like there's no way around it. It doesn't matter how big and fast and strong you are. If you're mentally weak, you're not going to last a second, at the next level. And so that's where I'mNotYou.com started. And I'm really just focusing on the habits and mindset and overall strategy, if you will. So I focus on a strategy to get you your results. And strategy is really about what it is. What are the things that you need to do every day to be mentally prepared for all of the challenges that are going to come your way, to really dominate every aspect of your life, from planning your days, time management, working out, raising your level of belief in yourself, taking action, knowing how to set goals and execute them. Because one of the biggest things, even just look at people who are overweight. It's not no secret, how to lose weight. Everyone will know how to do that, but people aren't doing it. And so it's really the mindset and the belief behind that. And this is what I work with athletes on.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier that you have a set of habits that you do every day that leads to your success. Can you share with us what those are?
Definitely, man. Well, first of all, I have a really dynamic morning mastery. I call it morning mastery routine, where 5 o'clock is my wake up time. I'm a full-time firefighter as well. And so it's really, I had to find a time that were like, if I woke up at this time every day, like I could always get what I needed to get done. And so, but I wake up in the morning, I take a cold shower. And after I take my cold shower, I do my affirmations, and it's a ritual I call prime time. And I basically put on some music, and I really get myself in state, meaning I identify how I want to feel for the day and really step inside of that. So it's a way of sort of not just taking whatever emotion I feel that morning and really like being deliberate about how I feel. And then I meditate every morning, and I write in my journal. I have a customized journal I call the Blueprint, and that I use with all my athletes as well. But it's an incredible system that I use. And it's a series of questions that I ask myself that sort of condition my mind on a daily and nightly basis. And that includes, what am I grateful for? So identifying the things I'm grateful for, writing down my goals, asking the question, why do I deserve the success that I'm going after? Why is it that I know I deserve it? Because that's one of the reasons why a lot of people don't get success. They don't feel like they deserve it. So if I ask myself that question every day, I'm going to find answers for that every day. And the more I condition that, the more that's solidified. And so that's pretty much the set of habits. And then I also listen to my affirmations. I record them over hip hop instrumentals, and I listen to them pretty much all day. Like wherever I'm in the car, my kids could probably recite them to you by heart, and I actually, my kids make them as well. I have my wife make them, but we play them around the house when we're cleaning up, when we're just hanging out. But it's just, you have to be like ruthless about how you condition yourself, because there's so much opportunity for distraction. Yeah. And I just last night, man, I dropped the bomb on my wife and my oldest daughter that we're actually in the process of moving right now. And so I'm like, we're actually getting rid of the TVs, like no TV in the crib. You know what I'm saying? Like there's just, I actually grew up without a TV. And so I can't wait to tell my dad, because he's going to be so proud of me. But there's no real benefit to me in having a television, especially with the level of goals that I'm trying to reach. And so there'll be a lot of time for television later. But right now it's grind time. And as far as I'm concerned, if my kids aren't getting 4.0s, they don't need to be watching TV either. So I'm going to break it to my sons later, and they're probably not going to take it as well. But I guarantee you after a couple of weeks, they'll forget. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's a big one. Recently, I didn't delete my Facebook and Instagram accounts, but I deleted the app on my phone. So, right. So because I'm usually like, I wake up and like, I'm like, oh, like I have all these messages from people. And so I just get on that. And late at night, I'm on Facebook or Instagram. And, it just hit me that I use it for the business, of course, and promoting the podcast. So I do use it on my desktop, but on my phone, it's like when I'm with someone, hanging out, I'm completely with that person now. Like I have I can't do anything. When I look at the weather, I have like the stock picker, and like I have like Yelp on my phone. Like, I don't have any apps that are distracting. And so like I kept finding myself like grab my phone and I'm like with someone, even this girl I'm dating, I'm like grabbing my phone constantly. And I'm like, there's nothing on there. Like I have nothing to check. I have no more of those little red things. And so I just put my phone back. I just felt way more free the past like 2 weeks, like just way more like intentional with what I'm doing when I'm with people. So I have a TV, but I don't have cable, or I can't just watch TV, but like I can buy movies and stuff. But I like that. You're just focusing on grind time. You just focus on your goals and what you want to achieve there.
All right, man. And that's a big step with the Facebook and Instagram, because I'm the same way. And I kind of noticed that like when I would check it, I would sort of convince myself that, I need it for business and all that. I'm like, but I'm not really doing anything productive when I'm on my phone looking at Instagram. Right. And so that's really big time that you're able to like have that awareness and take action on it, because awareness is key. And then, of course, just actually taking the action necessary. And that's where I was challenged with the TV. I don't watch a lot of TV at all, really, but it was like, I just feel like that's one less thing. I feel like my kids always are trying to watch TV, and I'm just like, no, like TV is not going to do anything for you. Like, you're never going to grow up regretting like not watching television.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I can look back at seasons that I watched, and I can't even remember. I have no idea what happened, what went down, but I do know that I spent like a long time, like so many hours just watching this show. And we have to remember, too, that these are billion-dollar companies that create content. They have scientists. They have people creating content and storylines that are so addicting that if you start watching a season of, Law and Order, you're done. Like, you are done. Like, that's the first 3 minutes you watch that, you're watching the whole episode. And it's like they have people that are just working full-time creating really good content. And it's just so that they keep you engaged. It's not so that they help you grow and reach your goals and help you like achieve the highest, potential. It's to just keep you so that you watch the commercials so they make more money.
It's hilarious too, because like I work in the fire department. Guys are big on, watching TV and stuff like that, just hanging out. And they're always trying to get me to watch stuff. And I'll hear guys talk about seasons. They're like, yeah, so I got caught up on, seasons. So I'm caught up. It's almost like it was homework. Like they had to do it. Like they had to watch all the episodes leading up. I'm like, damn, that's got. I'm glad I haven't got sucked into that yet.
Yeah, some people talk about characters in TV shows like they're real people. They're like, oh my god, and then she said this, and I can't believe this. Or like, what? Like, it's a TV show, man. But anyways, I just thought that was a big step. Just removing the distractions. I think that's key. That's clutch. Well, what other habits are going on through your day there?
Definitely reading. Like reading and working out are two of my most cornerstone habits. So for me, those are two things that I have to do every day. And so what reading does for me is it not only just keeps me inspired and motivated and things like that, but it just keeps my ideas flowing. It just keeps me moving. It keeps me mentally sharp. And I just feel more energetic when I read. And so when I don't read, when I'm sort of like involved in everything that's going on in the world and everyone else's world, it's really easy to start getting like caught up in reality, if you will, or the sort of limits that everyone has. And so I like to read because it reminds me of what's possible. So even if it's just reading a biography or reading certain books that I'll listen to, in the car, like over and over, like 50th Law is one of my favorite books.
Oh yeah.
I listen to that book. Like that's just constantly, whenever I'm in the bathroom, I put it on. I got iPods in every one of the rooms in the house. I need to stay, my mind, like, and my mental energy is so important. And then of course, working out as well. And so for me, it's moving heavy weight, and maybe this is the football player in me. When I'm moving heavy weight, I feel strong. And when I feel strong, I feel powerful. And that power and that confidence carries over to everything I do. So I'm squatting heavy weight, and right now I'm stronger than I've ever been, even my football days. Like that just gives me a good feeling. So I don't even know how to explain it other than just say like it makes me feel good. It makes me feel confident, and I know that I can do some damage if I ever needed to physically. You know what I'm saying? So I just like that feeling. So reading and working out is definitely in. And another one I recently just started is masterminding with my wife, and so deliberately taking 15 minutes out of every day to sit down and talk with my wife, and not sort of complain or, like do any of that, but really just talk about ideas and ways that we can work with each other to help each other reach our personal goals and our family goals. And I actually read a book, extremely powerful, Outwitting the Devil, that he talked about that. He talked about the power of the mastermind. This is Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
And how he's having a conversation with the devil, and then Napoleon Hill's like, yo, how did I get out of your grasp? He's asking the devil. And the devil said, it was the mastermind that you had with your wife. Like I wasn't able to get a hold on you because the power that you two had together was like incredible. And so I like really took that to heart. And I'm like, yo, I have to be more deliberate about getting on the same page with my wife because she's my road dog. She's my right hand. She is a part of me. And so I have to be on the same page with her. So that's sort of a new habit that me and her are working on together. And we've seen a lot of change, like not just in our relationship, but just in our personal lives as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Very powerful. Reading, working out, masterminds, and working out too. I think a lot of guys, I'm not really into the whole bodybuilding and whatever, like looking better. They just don't find it necessary. Maybe they just go for like walks or do something other that's physical. But I've been doing some research into like what makes a guy not take action in like at a chemical level. Some of it can be due to, and this was mentioned earlier in another podcast, was a lack of testosterone, especially as a man gets older. The testosterone it's just not natural anymore. And you've got to build it up. And one way of doing that is lifting heavy weights, naturally building testosterone, which is like go-getter, kind of get it done type of chemical. It's inside of you.
Yeah, no, I agree totally, man. And I don't know. I mean, with the people who say they don't really care about how they look, I will have to call BS on that. I know that everyone deep down has an idea of how they want to look, what they want to see when they look in the mirror. If you're not really claiming that as a goal, then you're really not taking responsibility. So you're basically saying you can't do it. So I haven't had a six pack pretty much like my whole life. Like I've been pretty close. But if I can have a six pack, I'm going to get one. And it's going to be my goal until I die. So like 50 Cent, I'm going to get a six pack or die trying. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I'm not ever going to be like, oh, well, I don't really care. Like, no, I would like a six pack and my wife would like me to have a six pack. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to go ahead and work on that.
That's hilarious. Okay. One of the things that you really help guys with is, developing the habits. We've talked about some of that, but the mindset and the systems necessary for dominating your sport. So an area of focus that I'm interested in, you mentioned 50th Law, and Robert Greene's other book is Mastery. And how do you help someone get past the stage of boredom where it used to be your passion and then it just becomes this grind where you're constantly doing the same thing over and over again, and you're just starting to lose that flavor. Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, man. And I've experienced that, and so has probably everyone. And so he talks about that in the 50th Law, like just boredom, and like it's just like the worst emotion. That to me, boredom is one of the worst emotions you can have, and that's another sign that you have just not taken responsibility of your life. If you ask me, if you're ever bored, and so to me, that's a problem of not having a big vision, not having large enough goals that excite you. And so I look at every day sort of like as a clean slate. So if someone's looking at what they're doing like it's a grind or like it's over and over and over, then you're not really looking at each day in the right way to me, or in the way that can give you more energy. So for example, working out, like if I looked at working out like, oh man, it's just day in and day out and day out, as opposed to looking at working out as like something that provides me with energy and is actually reaching me towards my goals, I'm going to look at working out totally different. So even like working out is not necessarily like hella fun. You know what I mean? Like going in there and putting yourself under a lot of stress, lifting a lot of weight. But if you have a larger goal to attach it to, if you have a strong reason why you're doing it, and you have a systematic way of reminding yourself of that. So a systematic way, not like, not just a motivational, like you got to know your why type stuff. I mean, like actually, like you do have to know your why, but you have to remind yourself of that daily, like every day. Yeah. So I also have like my affirmations are recorded over music, like I said, and I listen to those every day, like because every day matters. And as an athlete, I understand that. So like when we're leading up to a game day, like every day matters leading up to game day. You only have a limited amount of practices. So if you slack off, if you take one play off, like you're hurting your team, and you're hurting your team's chances of winning. So football season is a hell of a grind, but the reason why guys are able to get through it is because they know why they're doing it. Like the teams who aren't doing that, then they don't think they can win, or they don't want to win, or whatever else sort of belief is holding them back. But you have to remind yourself daily. And that's part of the reason why I write my goals down every day, man, morning and night. Like every day, it doesn't matter, like every day is a new day. So you kind of look at it like every day is a fresh slate. So if you look at it like that, you just got a whole night's of rest. It's not like you've been up for 7 days straight. You just got a night's rest. It's a new day. So approach it just like you would the first day. And it's a mental discipline. And a lot of people lack that. But I think the root problem is just an overall lack of vision. And so one of the first things I do with athletes is we set them up with a long-term vision. Like, what exactly are you doing this for? Because if you're not doing this for the right reasons, you need to quit. Like straight up, and go find something else that excites you. But if dominating your sport, becoming the best in your sport excites you, then we have to that's our fuel. Like that is our lifeline. We need to be in touch with that daily, and that's what I work with athletes with installing these habits on a daily basis, tracking them, monitoring them. We have a ruthless self-evaluation, evaluating yourself daily, weekly, keeping track of everything that you do, noticing what works, what doesn't. It's almost like you become a scientist. And to me, man, honestly, when you do it this way, the way that I do it with my athletes, you have more energy than you know what to do with. Like my athletes' parents are like, yo, I don't know what you did to my son, but he's a whole nother person right now. You see what I'm saying? So that's how, like, to me, if you do it in the right way, you'll have more energy. It won't be a grind for you. And you ask the top people who are killing it in all these categories, they're not looking at their craft like, oh, I don't feel like doing this today. Like, and if that emotion does come up, you have a system for how to eradicate it and get rid of it. And that's also what I work with my athletes on.
Yeah, got it. And what is that system?
The system, so it's the emotional. So it's emotional primetime system, and so we basically, like, I have all of the, like, I set up this thing where it's 2 columns. So to me, there's only 2 types of emotions. There's positive and there's negative. So an emotion at any time is either helping me or it's hurting me. So beliefs lead to emotions, emotions lead to actions, and actions lead to results. So if I'm gonna get good results, I need to be aware of my emotions on a daily basis. And so I keep track of my emotions. And so when I first did this, it was crazy because I would categorize my emotions like, so for example, you know, that stale morning feeling, like where you just wake up and you're like, what's going on? Like that's an emotion. I have the emotion where I'm frustrated with not getting a certain result type of emotion, right? And so I sort of characterize my emotions more personal to me and like times of the day where I feel it. And then I have this series of questions where I basically break down the emotions. So like, what are the events or circumstances that trigger this emotion? So it might be, you know, when I, you know, write a bunch of emails or this guy doesn't hit me back, or when I'm working on getting this client and it doesn't work out. So there's certain times where I feel this emotion. Then I identify, what am I doing with my body at that time? So am I going to certain foods? Am I just sitting on the couch, like sort of, you know, like with my head down? What am I doing with my body that makes me feel that way? What am I thinking about? Am I focusing on all the things that went wrong? Then what words am I using? Am I telling my wife like, oh, this sucks, or I can't do this, or man, is this ever going to work? And I sort of like literally just bust it down to its core. You see what I'm saying? And then from there, I identify, what do I want to feel? And then I say, what are the things that I can do to interrupt that pattern? So I have a certain things that I know that if I do, it would interrupt that pattern instantly. I have certain things that if I listen to, I will no longer feel a certain way. If I go to the gym, I am not going to feel helpless and in sort of an excuse mode. And so it's just identifying. And I do the same thing for positive habits. Like when I'm feeling like right now, for example, like this is a certain emotion and I know how to access this emotion. It's a way, like I'm actually standing up talking to you. I'm moving my arms a certain way. I know how loud I have to have my voice. You see what I'm saying? I'm actually wearing a certain type of clothes. So I'm not going to sit here in my pajamas, sitting down on my chair talking to you thinking I'm going to have that type of energy that I want. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yep.
And so it's really just identifying the emotions that you want to feel, identifying the emotions that you don't want to feel, and really busting them down to their core. And like I said, I have I could actually share this with you. I'm going to email it to you and you should try it, but just follow this series of questions. And by the end, that awareness alone, I'm telling you, there's certain emotions that I used to have that I don't even have anymore. And like I had one that came up the other day. It was like this sort of anxiety, you know, and I felt it and I was like, damn, I was actually kind of happy because I was like, I haven't had this in a long time. Like since I've actually like identified why it happens. And then I was able to do something really quickly to get myself out of it. And so we get caught in these emotional states, man, that will really paralyze us and we sort of blame it on like circumstance, but it's really our choice. Like nothing and no one can make me feel any sort of way, dude. I have the remote control to me. I have my own remote control. I can control how I feel, what I do, what I think. And we have so much more power than we realize. And that is when you start to get a hold of that power, man. Oh, I'm telling you, it's like you start to feel like Superman or some shit, like Batman. You know what I'm saying? Like where I feel like there's really nothing or no one that can stop me.
I like this. Yeah. So it's an awareness of what you're feeling, acknowledging that, and then taking some action to get into the feeling or the emotion that you want to be in. That's more positive.
Exactly. And emotions are really powerful. As an athlete growing up, like a lot of people would say, oh, like you gotta have no emotion out there. Like that's just the most that's just wrong. Like every moment of the day you're feeling some sort of way, man. And like you have to be aware of that. And if you are, like I said, it just gives you like a new sense of like power. It's like, yo, I really could feel however I want. Like I don't have to get mad when my wife says this thing to me. Like I don't have to be mad. Like I could actually choose to feel a different way about it and then do something about it. And it becomes sort of like a game, if you will, like where I'm like when a new negative emotion comes up, I write it down in my notepad in my phone, and I like can't wait to bust it down to its core and say, what is this emotion and why was I having it and what can I do to get out?
Yeah, this is really powerful stuff here. And we're getting into some really good conversation here. I'm really enjoying this. Let's now dive into an area of the show I call the knowledge round. Just going to ask you some rapid fire questions here. So are you ready for the knowledge round, Nee?
Yes, sir.
Do you feel stuck, alone, or like you're not getting the type of results you think you deserve? You put in all the hard work in your life, relationships, and business, but things just aren't getting any better? I've been there. That's how I started. That's where I was. I kept trying to improve my life, but nothing just seemed to give. I started to think that personal development was a joke. I felt like every month I was in the same place I was the previous month. But then I found something that just worked. I grew, my business grew, my relationships flourished, and everything around me just started to click. People started respecting me more, and I finally felt like I was becoming the man I wanted to be. I created a program to help guys get the same results in their life. Check out kfmline.com to learn how the Lion's Den can radically transform your life. Again, that's kfmline.com. Welcome to the Knowledge Round, where the guests will be asked rapid-fire questions to give the audience invaluable pieces of wisdom to help transform their lives. Starting in 3, 2, 1, showtime.
All right, so first question here is, what advice would you give to someone who is feeling lost or unsure of their purpose?
Man, that was me. That was me not too long ago. And first thing I would say is stop being a little bitch. That's what I would say. Like, seriously, I would say stop being a little bitch and really own your situation. Like, decide what you want. Like, it's so frustrating now when I see, but I have to have patience because I get this way too. It's like you act like you don't know what you want. But if I put a shotgun to your head and said, yo, what do you really want? Tell me, 3, 2, 1, go. You would say what you wanted. And that thing that you say, that's what you need to go after. So stop, like be decisive, like practice the art of just making decisions and not being scared about what's going to happen if it doesn't go right. And that was something that was holding me back. It's just like being scared about, oh, what if it just don't work out? Or what if it's just like, is not the language you should be like, just do it and find out what happens. And then if it doesn't work out, adjust. That's what life is about. And don't be scared, just be fearless and just take action.
Yeah, good. And this is very powerful stuff here. What was holding you back from becoming the man you are now today?
Man, it was a lot of things that was holding me back. I think a lack of vision, just a lack of purpose. Like I didn't really have I was caught up in that, like what's realistic type of thing. So I had certain circumstances, like I have 2 sons with the woman that I'm no longer with. And so I'm married now, but I had situations that were like, well, I can't do anything about this. And, can't just making excuses. And it's like from another guy, it would sound like, oh yeah, that's legit. But nah, like own your situation. Like who am I to say what can and can't happen? The only thing I need to do is just decide what I want and go after it. And so it was like a lack of decisiveness. I wasn't being decisive. And then wanting everything to be perfect, like wanting everything to be exactly the way it needed to be before I did something about it. And that's just, I've gotten so much more comfortable now with chaos and sort of just like things just crazy, and it's kind of, you gotta have to when you have 5 kids and, you're a firefighter and have a business and a wife who needs you, you know what I'm saying? So I have to get okay with everything not being perfect and actually grow to like it a little bit and just be like, yo, this is kind of cool. Like, this is challenging. It's like being in a maze or something, trying to find my way out. But being in control of my emotions helped me do that. So it was just complaining and just sort of not really knowing what I wanted, lack of decisiveness.
I like that. Yeah, I think that's something that we can all relate to in that situation there. And can you name a person who's had a tremendous impact on your life? Someone who's been a mentor to you?
Definitely.
Who is this person and how have they impacted your life? What did he or she say?
I've had a lot of people like this, but the first person that it was really my oldest brother, Tunde. And Tunde was a really he played like a really important role in my life, because there was a point in time where I was the one out of all four of us brothers that was giving my parents the most problems. Let's just say that. Like, and I wasn't really living up to the standard of, what was expected of me and what my brothers were about. But Tunde always saw like the best in me. He never really like identified with that negative part of me or who I thought that I was. And he always just built me up. Like, so he went to Stanford. I remember he brought me out to Stanford. I stayed with him there for the whole summer. He introduced me to the football team. He had them, autograph a football for me. He would always make me, like, he made this motivational poster for me where he had all the players autograph their cards. He laminated it and sent it to me for my birthday. Like, he just very much invested in me from just like a belief standpoint. He always made it known that he really believes in me. And that's just like, I still get chills thinking about it, because he was he was the guy he motivated me. Like, he kept me just sort of grounded and kept going. So my big brother Tunde would have to be that guy.
Yeah, that's very powerful. Was there ever a moment where he said something to you when you were at a low that just that pushed you into action?
It's really when he made me that poster I was talking about, and he put like a handwritten note, and I can't remember exactly what it said, but the gist of it was like, yo, like, I believe in you. Like, and it was really genuine. It was really genuine because I knew that he really did believe that I could do great things, even though it sort of seemed at the time that I was sort of deviating from the path or whatever. He just believed in me. And it was that, I remember that poster, and I still have it. It was this red poster, and he put all the cards on it and laminated it. It was handwritten. And I just cherished that, man. And I just always remember looking at that and remembering, like, just having someone that believes in you is really, really, like, powerful, man. Like, and you don't want to take that for granted. So that was what he was for me.
That's good. That's good. Sometimes that's just all you need is just
right.
to hear, hey, man, like a real from the heart, I believe in you. And it's just like lights this fire under your ass. You just like, I'm going. I got it. I'm good. Like, I'm going to do it. Thank you.
Exactly.
Yeah, we need that. So you mentioned a few really good books. You mentioned Outwitting the Devil and by Napoleon Hill, and 50th Law with 50 Cent and Robert Greene, two books that I highly recommend, especially 50th Law. I've read that. The audiobook on that is just, I've listened to that so many times. It's good, and it's cool that both of them are in it. What would you say are 2 or 3 of your most influential books, aside from those ones that you mentioned there?
Okay, so definitely 50th Law, like we said, Outwitting the Devil. Think and Grow Rich was a big one for me, but Relentless by Tim Grover is a must read. That was a really big one for me. Sell or Be Sold is a recent book I read by Grant Cardone, which I think, that book was just mind blowing for me. It literally got, like, certain books just get you to do things differently. Like, some books are kind of like, yeah, that's cool, but some books change literally the way you do things. And that was one for me. And then another one, which I told all my brothers and my brothers' wives, like, you guys have to read this ASAP. It was Procrastinate on Purpose by Rory Vaden. And that book is another one that literally changes the way you think and changes the way you do things. So any entrepreneur or anyone who's looking to really master time and really you have to read that book. It's really a game changer, and he goes against a lot of what we know about time management, but it's an absolute must read. Procrastinate on Purpose.
Got it. Yeah, I'm looking through it. And you mentioned Tim Grover's book, Relentless. And just for the guys listening, I picked this book up too. And so Tim Grover is the personal trainer for, I believe it was Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, or was it Dwayne Wade and
Michael Jordan?
And Michael Jordan, I think, was his first one. But I mean, there you go. I mean, the personal trainer for hell of a personal trainer right there. So I highly recommend that book as well. Relentless. No one really talks about it, so I'm glad that you brought that up.
Yeah, definitely.
So good books there. Now, this last, coming down to a close here, but what would you say if you had an opportunity to spend 60 seconds with your 20-year-old self, knowing what you know now and where he was at 20, what would you tell him to do, and what would you tell him not to do?
And I would tell him, like, you have to see things how they are. Like, don't spend any time wishing or hoping things were different. Just see it like it is. Don't run from reality. Like, just embrace it. Like, really see it, because that was a problem of mine as younger. Like, I like to fantasize things and like, oh, I wish he was like this. And I would ignore a lot of things that I shouldn't have ignored. And so really pay attention to reality. Like, you need to. Don't run from it. and then just decide how you really want it. Like, listen less to people. Like, don't listen to people. The only people you should listen to are people who are doing something in some way that you would want to do it. So if that includes my parents, that includes my brothers, if they're not doing something in the way that I want to do it, I'm not asking for your advice. Don't be the guy who's always asking people for their advice. A lot of times we know what to do, and trusting your instincts and going and actually taking action on your instincts and learning along the way is actually, to me, better than overanalyzing. Now, I'm not suggesting you just, do everything, just randomly, but trust yourself. You know a lot more than you think you know. And then just take action on what it is that you want. Like, don't think about any limits or anything that you cannot do. Just focus on what you can control. Focus on going aggressively after your goals, like in a predator type of way. And it's 100% up to you. Like, your life is 100% up to you. And when I actually learned that just recently, it was actually like I hadn't really understand the concept of taking full responsibility. So 100% of your results are up to you. And so if you want to change them, it's up to you. And so that's what I would tell my old self. Like, don't waste any time complaining, bitching, making excuses. Just go out there and make it happen.
Yeah. End of story. I like it. Yeah. And now I really want to get your perspective on this here. What separates someone who is good? He's good. He's well known at something. This could be a sport, versus someone who's considered one of the greats?
Man, that's a great question. So I'll just talk about football. So I can't call myself a great in football, but I definitely got the chance to be around some. So I'll just take Drew Brees. So Drew Brees, most guys in the league, I'll just say the good ones, the really good ones, they all have big goals. Like, so they all are saying they want to be in the Hall of Fame and this and this and that. And a lot of them have the talent. So it's not those things. It's really your ability to embrace the grind and like really enjoy the process of being great, and really like really embrace it and like attack it. And so what he would do is he was the first one there, the last one to leave. And so we hear this all the time, but it's true. The ones who are great, like, they just have an ability to be focused and disciplined and relentless in their pursuit of what it is that they're after. A lot of guys say that they want something, but they're not willing to do what's necessary. They're not willing to pay the price for what it is that they're asking for, because it's a hefty price. It's tough. It's difficult. There are going to be days you don't want to do it. But how do you cope with that? Like, what do? Do you take reps off? Do you take days off? Do you make excuses for yourself? The guys who are great, they don't do that. They own their result. They own it. And they don't cower from it. Like, they're willing to go down like swinging. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're always willing to keep trying and keep going after it, because it's sort of like an endless pursuit. Like, it doesn't end. It's just a way of life. And it's just like really like, it's just a different way of thinking. And it's kind of obvious when you see a guy that he's just willing to do things that other people aren't willing to do. Yeah.
It's like everyone wants to be great until it's time to do what a great person has to do.
Exactly. That's a quotable right there. That's
a quotable. Yeah. This has been a really good episode. I'm so glad to have you on the show. And just for all the listeners, Nee here isn't just talking about Drew Brees like he just watched him, like you played with him.
Right.
You played with him, and that's coming from someone who's been there in the trenches, not someone who's just analyzed successful people. So that speaks the volumes right there. And so that's going to conclude the knowledge around there. Now, I'm really interested in, what's exciting you today. What's getting you out of bed in the morning?
Definitely, man. It would have to be my sports results coaching program. Like, so I said, basically what I do now is I'm able to work with athletes all over the world. And so I have athletes in Australia, in New York, in Utah. Like, I don't have to be here with them now. So I'm actually able to influence athletes, through Skype and over the phone with these habits and these systems and these strategies. And I'm really expanding my reach, and really I'm getting some more coaches on board. And I'm really excited just to really be able to like take a kid who who has all the talent, all the things, like all the sort of, the tangible things or whatever, and really give him a system and a strategy that he can use to really take his game and his life to the next level. And that's what I'm really excited about. I'm seeing like incredible change with the athletes I'm working with. I just did my first academy last month. I'm doing another one at the end of October. I got an online a course on visualization. It's called Dominate Through Vision, and I'm super excited about that because it's going to be a real complete, guide to really using visualization to take your sports game to the next level. So I'm just super excited about what I'm doing and my ability to be able to work with young athletes who are just like me and show them the things that I didn't know when I was their age.
Yeah, this is good. Neat. Thank you so much for being on the show. And for all the listeners, check out imnotyou.com where you can follow up with Nee and the work that he does. It's been an honor here having you. I'd love to have you back on in the future.
Definitely, man. I appreciate it. I had a lot of fun, man.
Thank you for listening to the Knowledge for Men podcast. Hundreds of interviews and 1 million downloads later, we're continuing to build an international movement, and we've just started. So if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and leave a review in iTunes. It really helps to grow the podcast. Guys, 2015 is the official year of living with purpose, where every day you do only the things that matter to you. You wake up, live with purpose, and take massive action towards the life you want. Check out kfmfree.com to get free tools I've created to help you crush life. Again, that's kfmfree.com. This is your host, Andrew Farabee, and I'll see you in the next episode.